Ballsy Thinking, the gender agnostic antidote to sloppy thinking. How much preparation do you have to do to make the most of a cruise? Well, obviously the more you go on cruises, the better prepared you'll be. But each boat has its own characteristics and quirks that you need to take into account too, with respect certainly to two things. First is packing your kit into wardrobes and drawers. There are many different cabin layouts. And secondly, how you connect and power your digital stuff. And that is obviously depends on how much digital stuff you have and how desperate you are for them to work when you're in the middle of nowhere. So I put together a couple of bits from my recent cruise on the Iona, and hopefully by doing a bit of ballsy thinking, not just that for that ship, but for, you know, generally cruising, there may be some value in there for you. So one of the things that I was left wondering, even having watched about 40 videos on the cabins on the Iona, is how can you fit everything in, particularly when this is a 14-day cruise that we're on. And when you come into the cabin, as you can see, we've got two single beds here because we sleep in a super king at home. But when you come in, you normally find that up here at the top is where they put all the life jackets, and I thought that was crazy. So what I did was I moved the 2 life jackets immediately that we needed down there, and then of course what you don't realize in the videos is that they are actually, these are sort of like camp beds, these things, so they're elevated so you can put your cases and everything underneath, and that's what we've done. If you look underneath here, you can probably see better than me. It's got a couple of cases. Okay, so that allowed us to clear out, gave the Commodore a whole bunch of stuff up there. I used packing cubes, so you can see all of the color-coded packing cubes for me, shorts, shirts and so on. Allows me to sort of bug out in about 20 minutes should I have to. And then of course I've got some hanging space here. I've also brought my kilt this time for the celebratory evening which we have tonight, which I bought when I got married by the Commodore's clan, and I've got some new socks which I know is going to cause her to have a heart attack tonight, so that's going to be interesting. And I've also got some friendship flags for Scotland and England given the circumstances. The ship is actually full of Scots because it's Scottish half term, so I think I'm doing my bit to keep things on track. Of course, all of you know, I'm sure, about having the magnetic hooks. I also print out a map whenever I go on a cruise, and I just plot what's on the telly. So here we are today, and then tomorrow we'll be down here. That then just goes into a small folder which allows me to, you know, keep memories of what happens. So that's where we are. I hope that tip was useful, particularly about the beds, because no one told me that before I sort of came, and I was wondering. And yeah, plenty of room under the beds for storage. Back to the desk area of your, this is obviously the conservatory suite on the Iona, as I've explained, but I think this configuration works for all of the cabins, and indeed I think will be working, this setup, what I'm about to explain to you, will work on most cruise ships. The most important thing, I guess, is the adapter here that I have, which is a 100-watt adapter, power adapter, which power charger. It doesn't have a battery, which is very important because of course on in airports you're not allowed to take lithium batteries through in your baggage, so you can pack this in your baggage if you wish. It's got 2 USB ports and it's got 3 regular USB ports, and I charge, as you can see, I charge a little speaker, I've got some headphones, I've got some earbuds, I've got an iPhone which I sometimes plug here, although that generally charges over at the bedside, and I've got another Android phone here. I also charge a tablet, and the fact that this needs to be 100, I've chosen a 100-watt one, and the reason for that is because you know, my X1 10th generation computer, which you can see there. This baby takes a 65 watt charge, like most MacBooks or the most MacBook Pros and so on, and so therefore I need to have at least one of the USB ones. This black one here down the bottom is the one that just slides into the side. And then in terms of the actual power itself, that's a simple plug which just goes from that into the charger. I think this was about 70 quid on Amazon. You really don't need to spend that much. Obviously I sort of carry a whole bunch of kit with me. The other options I put up here really just for show, for the purpose of this exercise, is the Electrek Plug, which I normally just carry around for everyday purposes. As you can see, if you're for a woman particularly, that is very nice, slim profile, goes straight into the bag, and as you can see, you pull that down, you get an English plug, and you're ready to go. And I've just slipped that in by the side. We don't really need it here because I've got enough going on, although I am charging. It's got a USB-C and a USB power socket. That's pretty cool, and it pumps out about 5 volts, so 2.1 minimum on each, so you can charge a phone and a tablet on its own. Now the last thing I just sort of plugged in for the purposes of this is you've got a a Euro plug at the end there, and as you can see, what I've done, because the Commodore likes to have her coffee, I've used that. So this is a USB plug right here, as you can see, and I've used that just to plug in a USB. I carry this around for me when I go to Europe. It's got 2-time USBs, and again, both are, as you can see, both are 2.1 outputs, so that's quite important. It means you can charge again your iPad and an iPhone, and then really nicely the coffee machine just plugs straight in there. So take the best, leave the rest. That's how I've configured my setup here, and it's been very successful. It always means we've got power and my ability to film or to do whatever I want, listen to music or whatever, is all ready to go. Now, just before we leave this short segment, I just wanted to talk about this little beauty, which is this is an Android phone which takes the latest Android development, and as you can see, I've got it on a personal hotspot. I've got it turned on, and this enables, and you know, I can quickly show you that we're really in the middle of nowhere here, right out into sea. Okay, so you know, there's not another ship in sight. All right, so this is all. So the on this ship, I took a package for the internet, the enhanced internet, and that means I can run my Echo Dot as well, just through the phone. Although it does say it's only one device, I found that if you put this, this is a OnePlus, I'll put the description up, it costs 200 quid. I mean, it's amazing. It's on an O2 contract, which is obviously turned off, and so we're just going through the satellite system, and I can just run, because I always have it linked to the 5G normally. If I go to Europe, I just put it through this phone. I don't mess around putting the Echo Dot through the hotel or anything like that, but it does work. I mean, Echo, what time is it? So it does. It's
1:57 p.m.
Right, so it takes a bit of a drag, and then Echo, play BBC World Service, and that means that you can then, you know, you can play Radio 4 or whatever. But and all you need to do is just turn on the personal hotspot, which I think is pretty cool. And she'll come on in a sec, but there is a bit of a lag. But once it clicks in,
to really study it, you need people to be honest. But
yeah,
that can't happen when
absolutely.
sexuality is so wrapped up
all
in
right,
shame and stigma.
Echo, pause. So yeah, that gives you an idea of the setup and the benefits of having you know, some of the kit and the way I've connected this kit in the Iona conservatory cabin. And I hope that's useful to you. So another setup that may be useful if you're staying in one of these cabins, or any cabin I think on the Iona, is the use of the USB ports, which are under the bedroom lamps. So both sides, so over there you can see one, and indeed you've got one here too, and it's just a regular USB which can be fitted so you can plug stuff into it. Now of course a lot of people will just put a USB and charge their phone. I've got this little contraption which is pretty useful. You put your phone on, it's a USB-C connection at the back there, so just here is a USB-C connection just to the Mac, and as you can see, my phone's just come to light because I put it on. So it's, if you've got a wireless charging phone, doesn't have to be Apple, it can be anything. Then you've also got one for the watch as well. So this contraption, I think it cost about £12 on Amazon. You can stick your watch on and you can see that charging. And of course the great thing about that is in the evening when you touch it, you literally can, it lights up. So only the watch lights up, and that gives you a good indication of what time, well, gives you a perfect indication of what time it is, which is also useful. I've never used these are for the earbuds if you've got iPhone earbuds, and then there's also the iPhone pen as well there. But yeah, basically that's a pretty good contraption. I don't know, let's have a look. Oh yeah, I stuck the box here so you can have a look. Here it is, it's a 4-in-1 charger, and I can't remember how much that was, but I think it was about 15 quid from Amazon. Once again, I'm not an influencer, or I don't get paid by any of these people, but it's very useful. I found that particularly useful contraption, and it obviously is quite useful to be able to use this here, which is obviously powering about maybe even 5 volts or 2.1 to 5 volts, because this takes this is usually wanting a little bit more power than what would just charge the iPhone in order to operate. So that's another tip for you. So continuing on the digital theme, one of the things I just want to do a quick splurge on is the TV. So the TV, as you can see there, it's got you know, where are we, all your account and stuff like that, very efficient. This being an electronic program guide. Now the issue is that if you look on the side, you can see that there are ports, HDMI ports that you can plug in, and so if you, like me, brought an HDMI cable, loaded up your iPad or your iPhone or your Android with Netflix movies that you wanted to watch, there is actually no way you can do that, because they've locked the UPG and there's no input. As you can see on here, there's no input button, so you can't use the source, you can't find a source. So that's just worth mentioning, because it's obviously a disappointment to me, because clearly if you have a whole bunch of stuff that you just wanted to run through the TV, that doesn't seem to be possible. I may be wrong, but I can't find any way to do that. So another tip. So on the final stop of this cruise, I just thought I'd say a few words about the internet connection here on board the Iona. I paid £20 a day, or the beginning first day was £20, and then I got a deal for a 14-day cruise of £180, which I took up. And so when you're in port like you are now, you can still get, obviously you can get your Wi-Fi and stuff like that you get with your phone, but what's interesting is, of course, you only need to go just a few miles out into the sea. So we're leaving port now, as you can see, and just a few miles out, and everyone will lose Wi-Fi, and I still got my satellite-based internet here on board. I've seen some movies where they say that it's not very good. I think those people who are going north, they may have different expectations and different experiences, because as you go north, obviously I think the satellites are slightly off, but here, certainly around the sort of Bay of Biscay, and here we are in Lisbon, just in case anybody hasn't recognised it, then clearly the satellites work extremely well all the way down, even in the Bay of Biscay. And I've had some experience of that when I did a cruise last year with Cunard, and Cunard do minutes, whereas these guys just do you all you can eat for a day. So that sort of, I think it's 15 quid on the deal and 20 quid the first day, and I've been streaming practically the whole time because there's been a lot of American football stuff that I like to watch. So I would say that it's well worth it. And I mean, obviously, I just cut down on my drinking, and I've watched my budget slightly, and I've allocated it to the internet because that's what makes me happy, because it's a personal choice. But anyway, I hope this has been a bit of a interesting video for you. It depends entirely, obviously, on what you like to do on board ship. I like to go to places all over the ship, including the atrium, and just sit and do my own thing, have drinks with people, but then get back on the internet the whole time. That's been quite useful for me. So see you next time. Ballsy Thinking, the gender agnostic antidote to sloppy thinking.